Mexico a classist and racist country? Well, to answer the previous question, we present you Hershey's Mexico campaign accused of being one of the most elitist of all times. Hershey's Mexico was turning 50 years on April 2018, and for that reason, they decided to invest 20 million pesos to launch a campaign in social networks with the hashtag #PasarelBienSuburbian, which was intended to give a positive message and which was supported by models and influencers. The campaign consisted in launching dozens of images that showed the supposed generosity of the influencers who help poor people or street people, as well as giving them a product of the Hershey's brand. Among social network users, it was not overlooked that the campaign capitalizes on the poverty situation of the people they supposedly help. In addition to the fact that most of the images show white-skinned influencers helping people with a tone of darker skin. However, after a huge wave of criticism and anger among users, the chocolate company withdrew most of the photographs that made up the campaign. According to El Economista, before the controversy, Hershey's released a statement in which an apology was offered.
According to Federico Navarrete, in Mexico, since the 17th century, privilege is often vinculated to your origins and to your family. That is to say, since the colonial Spanish conquest, the best social positions were reserved for white European people who owned power, and that was the main cause of having to differentiate the people from the noble Hispanic society between being of casta and of no class, provoking the start of white supremacy. Then, during and after the Mexican independence, dark-skinned people went from slaves to living in poverty and having no power or say into the government. Only white people could aspire to such privileges. Furthermore, during the Porfiriato period, classism increased more than racism, having in the government only white-skinned and high-class people, while a huge amount of dark-skinned people lived in huge poverty. Finally, during the 20th century, it was time of Proyecto de Nación, in which indigenous people were completely isolated from history because of the appearance of mestizaje. What is more, those conditions are still kept, and that is why the class division, social and economic stratification are linked to your origins. Basically, European means white skin and from a wealthy family, while indigenous, African or Asian still suffer from racism and discrimination.
Moreover, we believe that it's impossible to separate Mexican 21st century racism from classism, so much to historical level as in the social practices, since in the last area we tend to read the position of the persons from the prejudice and associate those of brown skin with poverty and minor education, and to them of white skin with privilege, beauty and success.
Shock how nowadays some people think that you can be inferior just for the color of your skin, and that for that simple fact you can be poor.
After having made this project, I feel a lot of anger and disappointment, but most of all impotence, because it is not possible that the color of our skin or how much money do we have to be the decisive determinants of if we are superior or not, what post do we occupy, where do we live.
After everything we saw during the selection of the case and the analysis of it, I was astonished. It is simply unacceptable that after all these years, we still have problems with racism and classism here in Mexico. Neither the color of your skin nor your socioeconomic status defines how capable you are of something.
Subject makes me angry, and I am really disappointed because if we are talking about our country, about a problem that is not possible, that we have not solved yet, and just because the lack of vision of people and mentality, and the worst of all is that we are doing this among us Mexicans.
For us to eradicate classism and racism, we must educate ourselves. Social media has a fundamental role in the combat against these issues because of the influence they have on our daily lives. That is why we have to be extremely cautious with everything we post or share. We must face this from every front possible in our homes, during school time, and in social media. So we really start analyzing the origin of the problem so we can end it.
First of all, we should stop to think and reflect, to recognize the ridiculous ways of discriminating, so that it leads us to a deeper self-criticism of why we keep these distinctions so artificial and harmful to our social life. Then, we should start putting in practice those thoughts by actually changing the way in which we act towards this matter.